The federal government has announced a new plan to cut taxes on certain items over the next couple of months. Glenn McGregor joining us now. Okay, Glenn, what does this mean for Canadians, and what's been the reaction to this news?
Yeah, we know that affordability issues are still the top concern for Canadians, and it is something that has really hurt Justin Trudeau's Liberal government. So today he announced he's going to temporarily pause the GST and the federal component of the HST, where it applies on a certain number of goods, a wide basket of consumer goods, including things that you would get at the grocery store. Now, most items at the grocery store, you go in and buy rice, fruit, meat, produce, things like that, are not subject to the GST, but a lot of goods are. And so this proposal today from Justin Trudeau would take the GST off, for example, prepared foods. You go in and buy a sandwich at a grocery store, or a container of potato salad, that would have had GST on it. This would remove the GST for a period starting on December 14th and would follow through until the 15th of February, day after Valentine's Day. So you could go out for a Valentine's meal with somebody the night before, and you would not pay GST on restaurant meals, whether they're dine-in or takeout or delivery. Uber Eats kind of delivery things would be exempt from the GST, as well as snacks, potato chips, candy, stuff like that. And also beer, wine, and pre-mixed cocktails up to a certain level of alcohol volume would also have the GST removed. And then, of course, things like children's clothes, toys, car seats, diapers, and finally, Christmas trees. The government has also announced today that they're going to start sending in April checks to every single person in Canada who reported income in 2023 on their federal tax return. They'll get a check for $250 each if their total income per person, not family income, per person income is less than $150,000. So this is an attempt, obviously, by Justin Trudeau to try and turn things around for him politically on the affordability front. A lot of reaction coming in, concern from the business community about how retailers are going to handle this. They have to go back and reprogram all their computer systems, their point of sale terminals, so that when you check out of a grocery store, it correctly takes the GST off things that it currently applies to. And then, of course, the government has to get this legislation through the House of Commons in order for it to take effect before December 14th. Right now, the House of Commons is gridlocked with a filibuster over a procedural motion brought by the Conservatives, and the government is going to have to turn to the New Democrats to get support in order to get this through the House of Commons and end, or at least pause, that filibuster temporarily. So here is what NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, followed by Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, had to say about this announcement today.
But we know that middle-class families need a break, so we're going to work as hard as possible to get this done as quickly as possible. While the Liberals have let you down, Pierre Poilievre and Conservatives are missing in action. They're too busy playing games in the House, and all that Pierre Poilievre wants to propose is to cut the things that you need to make your life even more expensive. So this is what we are committing to today. We want to see this relief done as quickly as possible.
Today, what we have is a 2-month temporary tax trick that will not make up for the permanent quadrupling carbon tax on heat, housing, food, and fuel, and all to save Justin's job and Jagmeet's pension. Ironically, in just a few months, Trudeau and the NDP plan to raise taxes on all the same items they claim they're giving you a break on, directly through the carbon tax.
So there, Pierre Poilievre saying basically no, doesn't like the plan, says really the true tax that Canadians are most concerned with is the federal carbon tax, which is due to increase on April 1st. Sometime just before Canadians would get these $250 checks that Justin Trudeau has promised. The answer from the NDP, interesting though, because they say they support the idea of taking the GST off these kinds of goods for lower income, middle income families, but they want to do it permanently. Now, the NDP says that they will support this and they will agree to a one-day adjournment of the filibuster motion that is going on in the House of Commons right now in order to have this legislation passed. We don't know if that's really the way the Liberal government is going to proceed, if they're going to bring this out as a separate piece of legislation that could, in theory, be voted on and passed by Parliament in one day, or whether or not they want to make it part of a legislation that would accompany a fall economic statement that we're expecting to hear from the government in the next couple of weeks. That would be a longer, more complicated piece of legislation and would normally go to a committee to be studied before it gets voted on the House of Commons. That's something that can take weeks or even stretching into months to get approved. So this is all going to play out in the next couple of weeks. We're going to see how this works. Interesting to note, though, this idea that the Liberals introducing today really owes a lot to the NDP demand, when they're part of that agreement with the Liberals, to take the GST off these kinds of goods permanently. Also, to an idea that the Conservatives brought out during the 2021 election campaign when Aaron O'Toole was leader, proposing a 1-month break in December of that year on GST on a whole range of goods too. Not exactly the same type of goods, but close enough. So there is obviously the idea here, the Liberals want to box the opposition in and get them to vote in support of this. And if they don't, they can go back and say, well, you guys voted against a plan to take the GST off kids' diapers, kids' clothes, things that Canadians really need. So it's obviously a political plan as much as it is kind of an economic stimulus measure, FISA, that the Liberal government is suggesting today.
All right, breaking this down for us, Glenn McGregor in Ottawa. Thank you.